Okay. Hello, good morning mga people, mga kapuso, kapamilya, kapatid, at lahat na nakatulong dito sa internet. Kami po ang mga vloggers. At nandito kami sa Puzzle Mansion dito sa Tagaytay. At kasama namin si Ma'am Gina, ang record holder na may pinakamalaking collection ng puzzle sa buong mundo. Imagine nyo. Ma'am, could you please introduce yourself naman po so they can know a little bit of you more?
Okay, thank you. I am Gina Gil-Lacuna, 61 years old, the Guinness World Records holder for the largest collections of jigsaw puzzles done by in 27 years, a Filipino, and we have 1,028 puzzles and over 714,000 pieces of puzzles put together in the puzzle museum. Bakit magdirete? Wala ka na sinabi. Ini-edit niyo yan eh. Okay ko.
Well, ma'am, sinabi niyo po na for 27 years, talagang kinolekta niyo po lahat ng puzzle. So, ano po yung parang nag-motivate niyo para magtiyaga po talaga gumawa ng puzzle? Dahil alam po namin, mga pieces niyo, mga 1,000, 3,000. Yung iba po talaga nag-give up na po sa sobrang dami ng ganung karaming pieces.
Actually, hindi ako nagtiyaga eh. I enjoyed putting together the puzzle pieces. That's why it would not come to that number kung hindi ako nag-enjoy for 27 years. Yun ang relaxan ko eh. Doing puzzles is my relaxan. And it gave me so much joy after I finished a puzzle. And after it is being framed, oh my God, I think I was able to make put together a masterpiece. Like masterpieces of the great artists we have in the world, Van Gogh, of course Pablo Picasso, Renoir, Ezangio, David, and Leonardo da Vinci, you know, all of them. As if you were able to finish a painting too.
Well, Ma'am Gina, do you also have a technique para paggawa po ng sa puzzle?
When I first started, ayun na tao, keep coming on by the group na yan. When I first started doing puzzle, I tried to look for the technique. Most of us doing puzzles, the puzzle enthusiasts starts with the edge. But then, when you get to do puzzles all the time and you're used to it, you could start with the colors, you could start with the size, you could start anywhere, and it is okay. But there are harder puzzles which I have. Sometimes the easier puzzles I just pick up the piece and then put it in its right place. But then on a harder puzzle, you really have to think. You really have to use your head. Because sometimes you thought that's the piece already for that particular location, but it's not. So you have to use your head. And so it's very good because your brain really works. And you have to concentrate. You have a very good concentration and makes you sharper. Eventually, you never knew that that later on you will be sharp in everything, not only puzzles.
Well, ma'am, could you also tell more about the 3 hardest puzzles that you have made?
Oh yeah, no. The hardest actually is the Pablo Picasso Guernica. It's 2,000 pieces, but it took me for 40 hours, which is usually I could finish a 2,000 pieces in 15-20 hours. So it's a hard puzzle, but the hardest puzzle in the world, I just finished the Las Hilanderas, a 10,000 pieces puzzle by Diego de Silva Velasquez. And it took me more than 300 hours to finish that puzzle with full concentration, because if you come and see us at the Puzzle Museum, you will see the Las Hilanderas, not yet framed, but on the wall already. And it's the hardest, not considered, it is really the hardest puzzle in the world.
And naintindihan namin, ma'am, na last year niyo po nakuha yung Guinness World Book of Records for the largest jigsaw puzzle collection. So, ano po yung mga naramdaman niyo or ano po yung mga, gone to your head when you got the award and you
Oh.
were recognized internationally?
Yeah, because I know that I'm gonna win. No, I already knew that I'm gonna win the award. We knew how many puzzles the Brazilian lady had, so I knew already that I'm gonna win the award. But then I was during that particular moment that I received the certificate, I was happy for my family and for our country, but I am also particular about my guests here during that time and the media because the media keep on grabbing me from left to right, and also the guests. I have to make sure that my guests by the pool are all also well fed. That's why I keep on channels it. No, I keep on coming down there kahit naka-heels ako kasi I wanted to please everybody na baka na hindi na nabigyan ng attention. So, it's good nga next time that I will be winning an award, I will not invite guests anymore. It would probably be just my family and the media. Kasi parang na-scattered yung attention ko with the dignitaries na syempre so particular na buti nga hindi dumating si Noy. Kasi may invitation din pero ibig sabihin kung in case na ganon, ang hirap pala. Now I know better because probably more than a year from now or 2 years, I would be buying again for another title, or I would possibly be beat my own record, which is would be really possible. But then, yun nga, the consideration also is the expense. You have, it's expensive. It's not cheap. But then, let's see, if I'm still okay by that time because I could win 2 more titles. One is the fastest puzzle maker in the world. 2 is the most number of pieces put together by a single person. You will have to add up all the numbers if you were able to finish 1 million pieces. And probably the largest and the biggest puzzle in the world. So, but then the Guinness doesn't want you to, let's say, one expense for 3 titles. They wanted you to separate up. Of course, because it's also a business. It's also a business. So, one title, 2 million.
So, Mom, you're currently working on the biggest puzzle right now.
Yes, I am currently working the biggest and the largest puzzle, which I launched last March 1. It's a 32,000 pieces double retrospect by Kit Haring. It's a pop art, and the size is almost 6 plywood, and so it's a big mural. It's a big mural.
Mga pala, ma'am. So, as of now, you have, on the record, they have 1,028 pieces. So,
It's already 1,029 because I add up the Las Hilanderas na.
and
No, more pa because I still have under my bed pa ata ngayon. Oh, yes.
okay.
May mga reserve pa no? Because right after I won the Guinness, I never stopped doing puzzles. Every time I see a free time, I do puzzles. So, this morning when I wake up, I did a puzzle, a little, and then pag natapos ako maglas, daan na naman ako. Parang there's never been a day where hindi ko napupuntahan yung puzzle ko. Because it makes me relax really.
And yun nga po, dahil sa hobby niyo din po, nainganyo din po yung mga family and friends niyo to go into puzzling din.
Not necessarily, but some of them do knows how to do puzzles now. But then, what I encourage people, I encourage especially the elders, the ones that already retired like me, to start doing puzzles. You know why? Because they're not particular. This is it, When you do puzzles when you're really small, like your children, then it's good for the brain. Okay, it's good for the brain, and some children always, the tablet or the computer, they're always on into the computer, which is not so good. But then it's also good. But then, you should start doing puzzles, and then it is good for people who doesn't have anything to do anymore. And for those who are bored, for those who but also if you really like to do puzzles, you could always find time. During the time that I started doing puzzles 27 years ago, I am a busy businesswoman, a busy mother, a busy wife, a busy cook, but I could still do puzzles. And why not for everybody? Because it could sharpen your mind. Why not? Why not?
How did you discover po that you have a gift for solving puzzles?
What I discovered is I had the patience.
Yeah.
That is what I discovered. I had probably before I had a small patience, but then as I do puzzles, na-expand pa yung patience ko. Nagiging perseverance na siya. Parang ibig sabihin, tumatagal na kasi ang nilagay ko sa isip ko, I could do it. Parang may goal ako na I could do it. And then at the same time, hindi ko pinipressure yung sarili ko. Nire-relax ko siya. And so talaga naman afterwards, it's done. The puzzle is done. And a great work of art by a great painter. Why not? Diba?
By the way, ma'am, how do you scout for new puzzles to solve?
Before, I buy puzzles from the country I went to. But right now that we have all these computers, then we search for puzzles in the computer. But then right now we are now in touch with the biggest manufacturers of puzzles in the world. And so because I'm the Guinness World Records holder now, then they give me information about the newest puzzle. And besides, we could be the sole distributor of all those puzzles in the Philippines. And probably I would also be doing puzzles and asking somebody to do the puzzles of the great scenery in the Philippines, like the Taal volcano, the Mayon, the Baraswain Church, and also by our great painters, Juan Luna, the Spolarium, and Manansala. It will come later. And right now we are starting to do puzzles of portraits of people. We could do now portraits. You can email to us your portrait, and then we will do a puzzle of your portrait. And so, actually, it's so cheap, and so cheap. But then right now I'm so busy about the retrospect, but it's something like an 11 by 14 self-portrait, okay?
For how much? How much do you
It's 1,000 with the frame. That's cheap already. 1,000 with the frame na, ha? And the puzzle is put together already.
by you?
Yun ang gusto
By
niya.
me.
Asa na si,
So
si Ted. Yan ang gusto ni Ted.
You're encouraging people to avail of that offer kasi mura na siya and ikaw pa yun.
Yes, and I am encouraging people to start doing puzzles. We have puzzles here at the museum, at the souvenir shop, without so much profit. I just wanted people to start doing it because it did good to me, a high school graduate, and came to this point in my life where I am financially comfortable. Then why not? Why can't others do it? Probably if it works for me, it might work for others.
Yes.
So what would you advise for yung people who would go on puzzle collecting and puzzle solving right now, yung mga beginners po?
Or you could start with a 500. Let's say you have a favorite dog, then you could do a puzzle of a dog. Or you have a cat, your favorite cat, then you could do a puzzle of a cat. Or the scenery, or probably a small Mona Lisa, or a Van Gogh, or a Renoir. Why not? And it is always a conversational piece in one's living room. I gave a gift to somebody, that's a Van Gogh, and it is on her living room. And you see, she lives in a condo, and so you wouldn't miss the painting. And always somebody is, oh, you have a painting? No, it's a puzzle. And then the conversation starts. And in the kitchen, you could always put a Last Supper, or a puzzle of fruits, or vegetables. It's up to you. And then probably right now, my grandchildren, from my nieces and nephews, would grow up seeing the puzzles that I have in my house too. That's what they will grow up with it, like my 27-year-old puzzle. So they will remember you for your puzzle, sometimes not for the portrait, because sometimes when you're gone, your portrait is not yet, not anymore in the living room or on the bedroom, but your puzzle could stay in the wall, and you will be remembered by your family with the puzzle you did. That is done by my Lola, you see, a good remembrance of you, rather than a picture, because I cannot remember somebody, but except for the ones that buhay pa yung ano niya, partner niya, that to keep the picture. Always nasa album na lang, or yung pag-frame, let's say your like my son, if he marries, do you think my portrait in her room, in his room, hindi aalisin ng asawa niya? Aalisin yon. Lalagay yun sa ano, diba? Because she will replace it with the wedding picture. My picture will be gone in the room when I'm gone. Not unless ipaglaban ako ng anak ko. But then, the truth of the matter, aalisin yun, lalo na pag nag-away sila, di galit na galit din siya sa biyanan niya. And so my picture will be gone, but the frame there, na hindi naman ako kasama, will still be there. Diba? I've seen somebody, a Chinese, nagkanda kupas-kupas yung puzzle niya because they weren't able to protect it. Kasi you just have to put glue on top of the puzzle at ma-represerve mo na. My 27 years old puzzle is still so good. Hi, sir. It's still really so good. And so, madami ko nakita na advantage of having a puzzle, of doing a puzzle. It could do you good. As I told you, a well-known personality in the Philippines. She has a mother, 92 years old, was able to put up the life, a 3,000 life, and she's very well known. Edith, Bello. The mother who adopted her, kasi siya daw ang pinakapangit, siya ang inadapt, siya yung pinamigay. She was able to finish at 92, a 3,000 pieces puzzle. And she was tweeting and bragging about it on her Facebook and Twitter. And showing that they were holding the 3,000 after it's done, Also, 92. Why can't anybody do that? It's very good for the elderly. Kasi ang isang magiging sakit, now I'm already a senior, I think ang isang nagiging sakit ng matanda is, boredom. Kasi pag bata ka, you have everything. Nag-aral ka, nag-college ka, nagtrabaho ka, nagnobyo ka, nag-asawa ka, nag-anak ka, madami yan. Pero alam mo, if you do puzzles in between all those times, marami kang maiaalis na galit. Kasi you develop patience, so hindi ka masyado, you don't easily get angry with you. Parang isipin mo, this is nothing. Puzzle ka na naman. Okay, if you start getting angry already, punta ka sa puzzle, magko-concentrate ka. Hindi pwedeng hindi eh. So you concentrate, mamaya wala na yung galit mo. So, it's good for business too. It worked for me. That's my personal experience.
What's your target completion date of this?
July 31, 2012.
Okay.
Ay, 13. Matras
July 31.
Yung question ko, Mama, when did you start documenting your time na nag-solve kayo ng puzzle? When did you decide na you have to document the time you consume?
After the Mickey Mouse, which is my favorite one and the first one, yun, wala akong iniisip na iba when I did that, except I wanted it on for my son. Except yun lang.
Yeah.
And then after that, nakita ko na yung mga works nila Michelangelo, nakita ko na yung works ni ganyan. Ngayon, I wanted to cut a portion of the box and put it at the back of the frame. Kasi pinape-frame ko na para ma-remember ko kung sino kasi ganito pala kasi yan. You see, I have been traveling. And so when I travel, we go to museums. And then meron siyang mga captions. And so it just came to my mind that to keep the box. I kept the box and then I put the time at the back of the box. And then remember I show you the information about the painter and the subject. And so from then on, unti-unting na actually na-educate ako I remember I'm a high school graduate. Na-educate ako as I read and as I do puzzle. And as I travel, at yun pa natin at the same time, Oh, I've seen it, this at the loop. Nakakita ko ng puzzle, then I buy. And then I read the story. Then you get educated. And alam mo, best education is experience. Not reading. On the computer, hanapin mo si Vincent Van Gogh, mamaya makalimutan mo. But to see the actual painting of Vincent Van Gogh, or do the actual puzzle na ang tagal-tagal mong ginagawa. Kasi pag ginawa mo yung puzzle, titigan mo yung bawat stroke ni Vincent. Eh si Vincent mahilig doon sa parang binapress na gaya. Yung stroke niya, natatandaan mo na ngayon, pati siya parang nakikilala mo na. And aside from that reading, that is why I could talk about Van Gogh so spontaneously without walang gaton-gaton, even with this painter. Kasi parang nakaka-relate ka, tagal-tagal nung puzzle, may isa, biro mo the other puzzle I did 1,095 hours. Pag hindi mo pa naman natandaan yung mga pilikmata niya doon at mga buto-buto doon, ano ha? That's how you do it. That's what makes me, kaya sometimes when I say that I am a high school graduate, sa end of the show, nabibigla sila na i-stand kasi from the way I discuss the artist and the painting.
Mama, nag-sync in na ba sa inyo yung parang celebrity status niyo right now?
Ano?
All of us atin, my God, everybody's visiting me or calling me after the awards.
I could have been in the news long time ago.
Yeah.
We are now, we are the largest manufacturer of maternity wear in the Philippines. I used to capture 90% of the Philippine market during those Ever and Good Earth time. And yes, he knows. And we have been dressing celebrities. Remember Sharon Cuneta, nag-Grand Slam siya for Madrasta, and her role there is buntis. Dahil sa damit ko, walang tigil siya. We dress newscasters and many, as to have an interview, I never did. I never wanted to be in this position. Pero para sigurong hindi ko lang maiwasan because of the Guinness Best. I'm a very, very normal person. I go to the supermarket in my duster. Huwag mo na ikukwento yung isa. Binili. Okay.
What's your secret po sa pag-preserve ng mga jigsaw puzzle mo? Kasi
Yes, the only secret is you have to glue not the back of the puzzle, but in front, on top.
you have to glue the front.
Glue on top of the puzzle. Glue it.
How do you do it?
There's the transparent glue we have, but we will be selling next week the special glue. Or sometimes it's in powdery, but pwede mo siyang i-dilute. Or pwede naman na yung glue na Elmer's glue na transparent. Not the white, ha? The transparent. And then with not a brush, a hard foam. Then do it.
So the whole
And then the glue will sink into the cut of the die cut. And so it will, my puzzle, look at that, 27. Still so good. Except for the Garden of the Earthly Delight, because that one was displayed on the lanai of my rest house in Puego. By the beach pa naman yun. Di syempre.
Ma'am, last question na lang para maka-ask yung iba. Do you give credit sa hobby nyo, yung puzzle, na you have this lovely personality right now? I mean, not every 67 years old women will go, I'm only 61. 61, sorry ma'am. Sorry. So, not every day they're gonna say, I'm 61 years old because they are ashamed to admit na they look older than they usually are. So, do you give credit sa puzzle niya to have that lovely personality and good parang
Yes, also. And for having people working for me na naging light yung buhay ko. You know, my people have been working for me. I would ask somebody to call right now. Ayain mo nga yung anak mo, sabihin mo, tawagin si Lota dun sa souvenir. Si Lota. Some of my people have worked for me for 40 years, some 35 years. Probably I must have been a good boss for them to be working for me that long. And I will give you now an actual witness, Empronto, na you will ask one of my employees, actually she's the supervisor. She started with me when she was single. She worked as a sales lady and now she's the supervisor. You know, when I see your potentials, you you will be promoted. From time to time, you will be promoted. And they stick with me. Sometimes pinapapaalis ko na nga, ay pa umalis eh. And so, you know, I must have been a good boss. And then, because nga of puzzles, I developed my patience. Yun na hindi lang on doing puzzles, on every angle of my life. And also, probably with you ask my husband too, wala akong time na busisiin yung magagalit ako sa kanya because
Puzzle.
hindi naman din, but because yung ibang time ko nasa puzzle. Lotta, come here, pass! Lotta! Hinahanap ka nila. Ilalagay ka sa vlog. Ilang taon ka na nagtatrabaho sa akin?
21 years po.
Anong una mong trabaho?
Promo lang po ako dati.
Sige, magsalita ka, magsalita.
Tapos po naging supervisor na ako after 9 years.
Alam mo ba na siya ang ini-interview sa TV pag inatanong ang
O
buntis?
dati si Channel 7 po yun eh.
Ikaw ang taga-dalang damit ni Ruby.
Yes po, si Ruby Rodriguez, tsaka si yung sa Channel 7.
Yung dating girlfriend ni
Julia Cacares.
May isa pa, yung dating girlfriend niya.
Pia.
Pia.
Oo.
Tsaka po siya yung asawa ni Julius Bato.
At saka si Connie Sison, itong huli. Walang tigil, pati si Maris pag nabutin. And even long before, pati yung before her. So these people, sila. Tell them, who am I as a boss? Meron tayong isang Christmas party na ginaya-gaya niyo ako mga walang yakap.
O dati po si Ma'am, ginaya ko po siya kung paano siya magsalita. Ganon.
Sample nga, sample.
Sabi na lang hindi ako nag-aayaw.
Gaganon po sa table yung gaganon po siya misa. Tapos gaganon siya, nakasalamitas, gaganon siya. Yun po yung niya, yung ginagawa.
Ano tinatanong? Ano tinatanong mo?
Tinatanong po niya, kumusta benta? Anong stock number to? Ganun po siya. Tinatanong niya lahat yung mga kung anong klase ng mga damit. Dapat alam po natin yung mga
Kabisat, if
tinatawag.
I have 1,000 stock number nung araw nung ako nagpapatako ng bilis, kabisado ko yun. And I asked them, anong stock number nyo mabili? Pag hindi nasabi, uuwi na siya, magme-memorize na siya. Kasi nung araw, ako yung accountant, ako yung delivery man, ako yung nagsasample, ako yung lahat. And so I was able to teach them everything. And now, saan ka lang galing recently? Saan ka ba nang galing?
Beverly Hills, ma'am, dati.
Hindi, yung saan ka nang galing na lugar. Aeroplano ka.
Sa Cebu po, kailan lang po, galing ako ng Cebu nung 27.
O, ano ginawa mo? Malay ko.
Kailangan po yung mga promo doon kasi mga bago. So, kailangan po silang i-training kasi mga bago sila. Hindi sila ganun kadali.
Magaling magbenta yan. Subukan mo pumasok sa loob. Hindi ka makakaalis ng hindi ka makakabili. Bubungangain ka niya.
Siguro kahit
Ay, breakfast is ready, ay. Dito, go to the kitchen, anak.
Nakareserva na nga ako.
Hindi ka niyang titigilan pag alam niya may ibabayad ka.
May sukat na kung ano yung tama.
Mag-kitchen, ayan, natin na hinihintay kayo. Okay, sige, okay.
Okay, so parang
Not the other
do you
one,
have
anak.
any questions?
Ah.
Ayan si Anton.
Yan, actual yan ha. Wala tayong pinagplanuhan yan. Sabi ko nga sa'yo, what you see and experience, ganito yan eh. Anong bihirang-bihira sa isang taong malagay ka sa front page ng dyaryo nang wala kang talagang significance, nang wala ka pating bayad. Nagulat ako nang nalagay ako sa front page ng dyaryo na yon. At maraming front page, pati abante, baka pati tik-tik na. Doon sa stars, dito sa kaliwa nakalagay, Gina Gil-Lacuna launch